it's a battle for 4th place as Tracy moves inside.
Now we can watch Robbie Gordon on the outside on the right. The blue, the Valvoline car there in the front right there. He's still staying high. But he's going to pull down pretty soon because he's been passed by too many cars that are going low.
Tracy, you will remember, had that terrific win in Australia. Since then, he's been winless.
Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr., they battle for second while at the same time. This battle continues between Robbie Gordon and Emerson Fittipaldi, though it's fallen a bit backwards. Gordon is now 5th. And already they're working their way through traffic. That was Lynn St. James and that brightly colored green car that they just came around. 11 miles into the record book. Teo Fabi is the leader of the race. He jumped into the lead from the pole, but now all of the leaders have to contend with this slower traffic ahead. And this is where your worth really gets proven on the Milwaukee Mile.
Well, it certainly does. And remember, if this race were to go with no yellow flags, which historically it's done this, fuel could be a problem also.
All right, we'll take a look. There comes Teo Fabi. We'll look at everybody as they come through here. There comes Little Al and Michael as Michael tries to make his move to the inside. That's the interval back to the battle for 2nd and 3rd. That battle has broken off for the moment now. In 4th place is Paul Tracy. In 5th place, Fittipaldi.
Remember that at Indianapolis, as the race wore on, the soft compound tires brought about by the battle between Firestone and Goodyear for supremacy this year, the tires began to wear. The groove got narrower and narrower. We may see that happen as this race goes on.
Michael Andretti forced very low to get around here in Matsushita. Let's go to the pitch. Jack Arute, Robbie Gordon. Does he have a problem?
No, Paul, he does not. But remember at Indy, we got to listen into the radio. Derek Walker was watching the monitor, saw the touch between he and Andretti, and radioed to Robbie, that's okay, let him go by. Don't close quarter race at this time. It's a long event. The answer for Gordon, 10-4.
So Robbie listens up, drops back into 6th place, but still remains in contact with the leader as we let the field come through here once again. Give you an idea of where your favorite is.
You know, when you watch these cars going around the fabulous Milwaukee Mile, the most perfect oval in the world, just think, they're averaging 160 miles an hour roughly.
You can see with all those patches on the surface here and the movement of Teo Fabi's car on the surface, how rough this track really is.
Fabi has had a good season so far, but not a standout one. And I went down yesterday and found out a few things about the composition of his team. Recently joining his team, an engineer named Lee Dykstra, just in the last 3 or 4 days. Dykstra is a famous engineer with a great record, and he may be making the difference in Fabi's organization.
With 16 laps complete, Teo Fabi, the pole sitter, is the leader of the race. It's the 3rd race that Teo has in fact led this year. Al Unser Jr., there he is in 2nd. Michael Andretti is 3rd, followed by Paul Tracy and Emerson Fittipaldi. We'll be right back with the Miller Genuine Draft 200.
In the Derby, Thunder Gulch stormed to victory. But in the Preakness, Timber Country ruled. Now it's the Belmont Stakes, Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Back at the Milwaukee Mile, it's a battle for the lead as Al Unser Jr. in the past few seconds has closed on Teo Fabi, and now he fights for the lead of the race. Little Al comes to the inside on the backstretch. Teo takes a high line. They do have a car just ahead of them. That's Jill DeFerrin. And Little Al takes a way high string coming off the corner.
You can just see the horsepower is so evenly matched on the car. Little Al trying high-low. Fabi sometimes gets caught in traffic. That's the best racing I've seen in a long time.
Now the 2 leaders have Scott Pruitt and Jill DeFerrin ahead of them. They will become a factor as Teo Fabi continues to lead Little Al. 3rd place is Michael Andretti.
Remember the month-long frustrations of the Penske team at Indianapolis. It's all being vented now. But remember, too, that both Little Al and Emerson, in the effort to get those cars into the race at Indy, ran so many laps right on the limit. So they're as race-ready as if they had been in that race, maybe even more so.
Well, we've watched Little Al over the years here at Milwaukee. He's either really hot right on or really bad. Today looks like he's really hot on.
It's unusual, though, Bobby, wouldn't you say, for Little Al to run so hot early? He usually comes up from the back, a more calculating race.
I think he's very frustrated over Indianapolis.
Yep, Michael Andretti now battling for 3rd place. That's Paul Tracy that is beginning to challenge him. Emerson Fittipaldi is back behind Tracy, and then Robbie Gordon. So nothing has truly changed in this order, but the battle heats up here at 3rd place with Tracy moving around Michael.
It's unusual to see Tracy running ahead of Michael Andretti in an IndyCar race this year. These two teammates, which seem so equal coming into the season, Michael, in fact, has been faster in almost every race.
And it's also, keep in mind, around the 75, 80 lap mark when guys start pitting, they'll be adjusting their cars. A lot of these cars you're watching now will get faster then.
26 laps into the record book for Teo Fabi, the leader of the race. Update on what Michael's problems may or may not be. Here's Gary Gerald.
And Bobby Unser was right on when you talk about how this track changes, and most often it seems like your car goes loose. That's the report from Michael Andretti. The back end wants to skate away from you here, and they're already trying to make adjustments from the cockpit. They hope that'll work. If it doesn't, then they'll have to make a more significant change on the first pit stop.
Gary. And it's a battle for the lead as Al Unser Jr. on the backstretch moves to the outside of Teo Fabi. And Al Unser Jr.'s got him going into the corner. Can he hold on to it? Yes, he does. Al Unser Jr. now bottled up behind
Christian Fittipaldi.
And Fittipaldi moves to the inside. And staying in pursuit is Teo Fabi. But now that Al Unser Jr. Seems to have a head of steam, he is rolling up, coming around Jack Villeneuve.
Well, you can watch little Al when he came out of that corner over number 2. His rear end was wiggling. That means a little bit loose, or he's using the car to its 100%.
Hey, Jack Arute, little Al now has the lead.
And Paul, we talk about the fact that the team failed to qualify for the 500. That means it's been almost 6 weeks since they've had any pit stops. Our Bucking Company took that into account this morning. They did a dozen additional pit stops so they could get back in full form. Expect the leader to come into the pits around lap 7-4.
We're riding with Bobby Rahal, who runs second now in the championship standings, who has finished second at this track but has never won it.
Back in 11th position with Bobby Rahal. Let's take a look at that pass that put Al Unser Jr. at the front of this field. There he was coming off of 2. Just got a good run off of 2. Teo Fabi caught a little bit behind slower traffic just ahead. Boy, but little Al really had a run.
And remember, that's Robbie Gordon's groove. He did it up high. In fact, most of his passing has been up high.
That's the groove. We've got to wait through the race to see if it. Here's Roger Penske talking to little Al. See if that groove stays clean with these softer compound tires.
30 laps into the record book, 1 lead change. Al Unser Jr. takes over from Teo Fabi. Third place is Phil Tracy. Michael Andretti is 4th. Emerson Fittipaldi is 5th. Robbie Gordon runs in 6th, and then Raul Boesel, Adrian Fernandez, Jimmy Vasser, and Bobby Rahal.
Interesting as we see Fabi drop out of the lead to realize that no pole sitter has won an IndyCar race so far this year.
There's Teo Fabi in the red and white car. Looks very much like the Penske cars right there. Trying to catch a Al, losing ground to him right now, Paul.
New team this year. Well, new return team with the Forsythe.
I'd say that Fabi is now coming under attack from Paul Tracy, who you're going to see on the right of the screen momentarily. He is right there, Paul Tracy, starting to stalk Teo Fabi. There's Tracy in the red and white car at the top of your screen.
And at the same time, Michael is beginning to stalk Paul Tracy. There's Michael right at the back end of Tracy's car.
Those two have been going at it since the race started. There's the teammates together. Carl Haas's car, the guy that also promotes the Milwaukee race here.
Did I blink or did something flip across the lens on Michael's camera?
This is amazing stuff. He's inside Carlos Guerrero there, who was so fast in practice yesterday.
Michael Andretti fighting with his teammate Paul Tracy. The leader is Al Unser Jr. Teo Fabi is 2nd. They're not in contact.
We can watch the cars at the different grooves that they have on each end of the racetrack. For example, this is going down into 3 and through 4 turn right here. They go a lot wider down, then they come off closer to the wall or wider coming off. You can watch down, watch Michael right there in the white car. Here's 1 and 2 turn. Now he's going to go way down, close to the grass down there. Of course, come off real close to the wall out there. Total different groove in each turn.
Only Michael and little Al have won here at Milwaukee. Michael, as I said at the top, 4 times, little Al twice. The others, have no wins here.
Now watch that yellow line to be between 3 and 4 turns. The guys, the fast ones, will try not to hit that yellow line if they can help it because it makes it a little slippery.
Paul Tracy very definitely catching 2nd place. Teo Fabi now. Eddie Cheever, who had to start in a backup car because of an accident in the final practice yesterday, has retired that car and climbed out of the pit area. We continue to focus on this battle revolving around 2nd place, and Teo Fabi as Paul Tracy closes in.
This is tough driving for Tracy here.
Michael Andretti as he's closing on Teo, but Teo just took a low line and it really cost him.
Second time he did that.
Teo obviously has handling problems like many of the cars will have until their first pit stop. Keep this in mind. Their tires go away a little bit. Their handling doesn't quite match it. This is the first time in the race. There goes Michael trying to get by. It's the first time in the race that they'll have a chance to really see how their cars are doing.
So Michael sets up on Teo. Eddie Cheever, we mentioned, is out of the race. He's with Gary Gerald.
Eddie, I know you were concerned you had no laps whatsoever in that year-old chassis. Was it a handling problem? That is last year's car. We had it on as a spare. Unfortunately, after Indianapolis, we didn't have any 95 cars left over as a spare. I didn't even do one lap on it before I ran it today, and with these new tires that Goodyear have come out with, they don't suit that car. And it was just dangerous. I was a moving chicane out there. I know there's a few cars slower than I am out there, but that's not what our team is about. I don't want to run it if we're putting ourselves in danger in other cars. That's the first time I've ever done that, and I hope it's the last. Thank you, Eddie.
There's the wisdom of great racing drivers. Eddie Cheever wisely doesn't want to peril anybody else, pulls the car out of the race. Andre Ribeiro is in the pits. He has fit in twice now, so apparently there is some serious problem with that car. We'll follow that for you as well. At the front of the field, it remains Al Unser Jr., followed now by Paul Tracy. And Michael Andretti is charging in on top of Teo Fabi.
Teo Fabi in the red and white car, you can just see he's lame right now. He's going as fast as he can go, but he's not handling good. Michael is just going to get him. It's just a mere matter of time, because right now Fabi's just holding him up.
And he's committed to that low groove, isn't he, Bobby? Teo can't seem to run a high groove, and when Michael does it here, he again is able to take advantage of the situation.
But it happens, Sam, when you start handling like Fabi is probably loose in the rear end. So the first thing a guy does is go lower on the track.
To give himself room in case the tail jumps out, right?
Well, not necessarily for that. That's the shortest way around the track. He's going to have to go to slower speed.
And boy, how close was that maneuver on the last lap. Now they're back in turn one again, and this time Michael has him. And Teo again runs down on the low line and then comes very high as he comes off the corner. So at the front of the field, it is Al Unser Jr., followed by Paul Tracy. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Next Sunday at 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central Pacific on ABC Sports, the Indy cars will roar into Detroit. Two-time winner Emerson Fittipaldi goes for a third win at the ITT Automotive Grand Prix. Then Jeff Gordon and the hottest drivers in auto racing speed off to South Carolina from Darlington Raceway. It's the second challenge of the International Race of Champions. Two great auto races next Sunday here on ABC. Jack Villeneuve currently closes on Adrian Fernandez in a battle for 7th place. They are one lap off of the leader. The leaders are stringing through this battle as well. And Christian Fittipaldi is lining up right behind the fight as well.
Villeneuve just drove right by Fittipaldi right down to turn 1 and 2 a little bit ago, Paul.
You see that nothing's changed at the top of the order. Al Unser Jr. is the leader, followed by Paul Tracy. Now let's go to Gary Gerald.
Andre Ribeiro back in the pits for a second time. Race control reported possible contact with Paul Tracy. The crew checked all the suspension, changed the tires, sent him back out. He took one lap. He's back in. Don't know if he'll get back out. Let's go to Jack.
Well, Team Penske, Gary is about to go to work. First car in will be Emerson Fittipaldi, and he will likely go one lap down. In the interim, pitting in another lap will be your leader, Al Unser Jr. But he has a problem as well, but one that they can overcome. It seems that after about 4 laps into the race, his dash went dead. He has no readout on the dash. And talking to Richard Buck and the crew, they radioed to him to remind him the old sprint car days. Said he's going to have to work without a dash. Now, let's see, as Fittipaldi comes in for service. And they have a problem. Rick Reineman has a problem just initially with the right front, with the air jack. He solves that problem. They're going to take on fuel. They're going to make a wing adjustment, but he is definitely going a lap down. And Fittipaldi was reported a loose condition. Hopefully has it serviced.
Wing adjustment to the right front wing on that car. We're 53 laps into the record book, all of them green flag racing. Al Unser Jr., there he is still the leader of the run as his teammate Fittipaldi has made his stop. Paul Tracy is second, Michael Andretti is third, Teo Fabi is fourth, Robbie Gordon fifth.
The only race won this year by a man who led the most race laps in that race was Long Beach by this man, Al Unser Jr. It looks as if he's maybe 7